Welcome to another episode of Fretcast Transformers. So you thought this series was dead, didn't you? Well, I was not planning on making more of these, but after finishing up watching Power of the Primes TV show and seeing how much of the two specific 13 Primes are in the show, I thought I would continue the Transformers school on 13 Primes and make videos for those two, which will ultimately lead to me doing the rest of them and then getting those out of the way. Who knows, maybe after that I'll tackle Unicron and Primus if I'm feeling up to it. So then, this video is everything you need to know about one of the 13 Primes, and that is Solus Prime. Solus Prime is the maker and creator. She is loved by her friends for her ability to forge nearly any device they need, as well as her intelligence and positive support type of personality. Her only flaw is that she has a fierce and angry temper that flares up at any sign of injustice. She finds joy in creation and is close friends with Micronus Prime, Nexus Prime, and Onyx Prime, but her closest relationship is with Megatronus, as the two have a closely devoted romantic love that is unique among the 13. She carries the Forge of Solus Prime and the Creation Lathe, and her creations include the Star Saber, the Requiem Blaster, the Chimera Stone, the Apex Armor, the Infinite Combinatoric, the Chaos Edge, the Cyber Caliber, the Quill, the Xeonomicon, the Terminus Blade, and the Enigma of Combination, align continuity. Solus Prime was the fourth Prime created by Primus to defeat Unicron. The builder and creator of the 13, Solus opted to remain a free agent as the newborn Primes strategized for their upcoming battle against Chaos Breaker. As part of their training, Solus created a Holo Suite, which contained a virtual copy of Unicron for the Primes to train against. Primes quickly learned that their enemy was more than capable of trouncing them in direct combat. Solus Prime befriended the conflicted Megatronus, building for him the first set of Dark Energon skins. At Megatronus' urging, she constructed the Requiem Blaster, a weapon that she considered virtually unstoppable. Doubtful at what she had created, the Requiem Blaster had led to a heated debate amongst the 13, with Liege Maximo pointing out that the moody Megatronus could easily turn on his brothers and become unstoppable. Solus Prime defended Megatronus, arguing that Megatronus, who had successfully resisted the temptation of his inner demons, was perhaps best suited to carry the destructive weapon. Megatronus was proud of her speech, and Solus Prime continued to churn out new weapons and artifacts for her brothers, working closely with them in order to mimic some of their innate powers. Continuing their training, Solus worked with Quintus, Micronus Prime, and Alpha Trine to build a computer capable of predicting all of Unicron's potential moves. Eventually, the time came to launch an assault on Unicron himself. Wielding her forge and a sword, Solus led the charge through Vector Prime's space bridge and onto Unicron himself. After Optimus Prime shut down Unicron from the inside, the weary but triumphant Primes headed back to Cybertron. Unbeknownst to them all, Unicron's presence had left them a little more susceptible to their inner darkness. In the era that followed, Solus continued her work at the Forge, building useful items and burgeoning settlement of the Primes. She and Megatronus remained close to each other. Tensions between the Primes began to grow, and on the day that Solus refused to make a suit of armor for Liege Maximo, who claimed that he was building some robotic creatures for company, as a gift, Liege Maximo gave her one of the creatures whom she adopted as a pet. After some wheedling from Maximo, Solus decided to forge the armor in question. Prima and some of the other Primes got word of the farm and called a vote to decide its future. Solus voted against the continuation of the project, but not without a defiant remark aimed at Prima, who had cast aspirations on Megatronus' character. Megatronus confronted Solus Prime over Maximo's suit of armor, which had been completed long ago but never been delivered to its intended recipient. Their disagreement eventually grew into a full full-fledged fight after Megatronus killed her pet, which had secretly been recording Solus Prime's actions. In the chaos, Megatronus fired the Requiem Blaster without thinking, fatally wounding Solus Prime. Before she passed, however, she professed her love for him. Solus's body returned to the core of Cybertron and Primus, and the passage left behind became the Well of Allsparks. Following the death of Liege Maximo, the surviving Primes built a tomb in her memory far away from Cybertron. There they held a funeral for their fallen comrade. A repentant Megatronus attended the celebration, where he mused that Solus Prime had been something good in him, that he would find a way to live up to that. Following the beginning of the Cybertronian civilization, 1/13 of Cybertron's population considered themselves the descendants of Solus Prime and possessed a very similar neural structure to their progenitor. Line continuity novels. Near the dawn of time, when the 13 were struggling to defeat Unicron, Megatronus commissioned Solus Prime to create a weapon of incredible destruction to use against the Chaos Bringers. Solus Prime had strong reservations, but after a long period of time managed to create the Requiem Blaster. She gathered the interested members of the 13 to witness its test of powers and leveled a mountain. She pointed out that the power corrupts and worried that the existence of such a weapon could possibly lead to their own downfall. Ultimately, the 13 voted 7-6 to keep the Requiem Blaster and not destroy it. It was Solus Prime's sudden murder at the hands of the enraged Megatronus that caused the first major schism in the 13. After Megatronus became the Fallen and was defeated by the remnants of the 13, a tomb is fashioned for Solus Prime out of a meteor and set adrift on the stars, reachable only by a series of space bridges. Countless years later, Optimus Prime came across Solus Prime's tomb while searching for a mystical artifact. A semi-sentient hologram of Solus Prime appeared and warned Optimus and his Autobots to leave. Solus Prime directed them towards a space bridge which would take them to the location of the lost Requiem Blaster. IDW Generation 1 Continuity. In the age following the departure of the Knights of Cybertron, Solus Prime was one of the many primes that arose on prehistoric Cybertron, tribal leaders who gathered like-minded followers. Approximately 12 million years ago, Solus and her tribe joined a coalition of like-minded primes, Nexus, Vector, Alchemist Prime, and Alpha Trion, and founded the village that would eventually become the Crystal City. One evening, Vector brought news that Megatronus and his Darklanders had invaded the neighboring city of Protohex and slain Septimus Prime. Solus was unmoved, though when Onyx Prime and Liege Maximo arrived to confirm Vector's warnings, they agreed to join forces. The next morning, the Primes watched as Onyx's army of beasts battled the Darklanders until a trio of Titans emerged from the ground and giving Onyx the opportunity to reach Megatronus and call for a truce. The 8 Primes then agreed to an alliance and were joined shortly afterwards by the Prima and his Northern Alliance. Over the next 12 million years, the Primes ruled benevolently. Solus Prime became known for her friendship with Megatronus and her endless creativity, using her creation lathe to build a collection of weapons, artworks, and scientific devices that comprise the artifacts of the Primes. Solus even commanded the loyalty of a Titan, Camillus. In time, however, some of the Primes grew arrogant and sought to preserve their hold on power by claiming that they were functionally immortal. It was falsely claimed that only a Prime could kill a Prime. Unbeknownst to the other Primes, however, Onyx Prime was not who he appeared to be. In reality, Onyx was a convenient identity assumed by a time-traveling Shockwave, who sought to guide history along its preordained course while analyzing the variables that inevitably led his race to fall to civil war. Solus eventually forged a powerful sword for Prima that incorporated the Matrix of Leadership and dubbed it the Star Saber, causing Onyx to realize that in order to maintain the timeline and ensure that the Matrix of Leadership would one day find its way to its next bearer, he would have to engineer the fall of the Primes as history dictated. Following the disastrous off-world expedition, Prima blamed Megatronus for this failure. Though Megatronus tried to convince Solus Prime that he had been in the right, she rejected his explanations, arguing that the Primes needed to use their powers to light the way, not destroy indiscriminately. This rejection pushed them towards the more receptive Liege Maximo, a betrayal that led to the two hatching a plan to stage a coup against Prima. When this treachery was revealed, Solus was able to defend Prima from the traitors, but at the cost of her own life. She was slain by her former friend Megatronus and impaled on her own Star Saber. The fallout from this would, in turn, spark the first Cybertronian civil war, and prompt some of Liege Maximo's own followers to turn against him. None of the Primes or their followers would ever learn that Onyx had deliberately orchestrated this entire sequence of events from the shadows. At some point before the Golden Age, Caminus would leave Cybertron and colonize a distant moon, founding a new Transformer civilization. This Transformer colony would develop a religion known as the Way of the Flame. Based off the teachings and philosophies of Solus Prime, the religion deified 13 as gods and venerated Solus Prime as the greatest among the Pantheon, believing that every Camion spark contained a fragment of Solus's essence. On death, the devout held that all sparks would turn to Solus Prime's forge, where it would be reincarnated as the new Cybertronia. The religious organization known as the Torchbearers considered themselves servants of Solus Prime and organized themselves into groups of 6 to commemorate Solus Prime's creation life. Prime Wars Trilogy. Solus Prime created many tools to help defeat Unicron, including the Enigma of Combination and the Requiem Blaster. After her lover Megatronus used the blaster to vanquish Unicron, she welcomed him back to her forge. Its purpose now served, Solus believed the weapon should be destroyed to prevent its misuse, though Megatronus believed it was safer in his care. The two began fighting over the weapon, inadvertently causing it to fire and mortally wounding Solus Prime. Dying in Megatronus' arms, her life force was released into the air before forming the Well of Allsparks. Because of her death, the other members of the 13 sealed the blaster away, and Megatronus began brainstorming a plan to reunite with Solus. Ultimately, Megatronus obtained the Enigma, Requiem Blaster, and Matrix leadership, combining their power to siphon life energy from Transformers everywhere into the Well. As his team arrived to subdue Megatronus, Megatron watched as the energy coalesced and Solus began to form. Confused by her circumstances, she asked Megatron what was happening, which he explained. She proceeded to only stand and observe as Megatronus eliminated each of his foes. Horrified by what she witnessed, Solus repeatedly begged Megatronus to stop, directing the others to destroy the machine, tethering her to the well. The machine eventually released the relics, causing Solus to begin to fade away. Still begging for help and for Megatronus to stop, Solus took matters into her own hands and used the energy of the sparks to grow in size and grab Megatronus. Calling him out on the many atrocities he had committed, including causing her death, she pulled him down into the well, killing them both and releasing all the accumulated sparks. So yeah, that's everything you need to know about Solus Prime. I hope you enjoyed this episode and look forward to the full return of the Transformers School series, as I forgot how much fun it is to make these. That's all I have to say, so thanks for listening and goodbye.